Hello and welcome to Colleague 7 Sprint Review for 18.02.02. This will cover the work undertaken between the 20th of February to the 5th of March. Starting with a sprint goal, and for this sprint the goal has been to investigate and prototype a mechanism for managing images within the Colleague 7 text editors. We've also begun the back office project to allow for the storing of financial data, as well as some other minor bug fixes based on client feedback. So looking at the high-level items and to explain further, in this sprint we've been able to investigate the management of images within the text editor. In doing so, we now have a method in which we can embed an image so that it doesn't need to be hosted online. Sadly, I'm not able to demonstrate this today. It's a proof of concept at this stage, but this will initially be implemented for email signatures over the course of the next sprint, and we plan to roll this out across all text editors in the near future. So this will affect emails, templates, and letters as well. We've updated a new option in the candidate entity, so there's a location to store payment details relating to a candidate. This is the first stage in a series of updates relating to the introduction of back office functionality into Colleague 7. We've added a new user permission which grants the ability to delete another user's search result. We've updated the selection screens to support free text searching for the candidate, company and contact fields. These were previously hard-coded, and I'll demonstrate what I mean by that shortly. We've updated the to and CC fields on all email forms so that when bulk mailing, the field size will be limited to 4 rows. It will then use a scroll bar. The interview time option has been updated so that the time is editable when arranging an interview. This was previously fixed to only use the time lookup dropdown. And an issue relating to the end time of an interview on diary creation has been resolved as well. This was previously hard-coded to the default setting. We'll now go for a short demonstration on the key features from this sprint. Okay, so the first thing I'll go through is the new payment details partial view that's been added to the candidate record. So this is for the purposes of storing back office related information relating to a candidate. So off a candidate record, off the view more option, you'll see an option here for payment details. This is also a user permission, so there is an option to have this shown or not shown depending on your user privilege as well. So clicking this option, it will bring down the partial view for payment details. I've pre-filled this for the purpose of the demo with some data in here, but these can be cleared out, so I'll clear these down. Now the limited company name can be free text if you wanted it to, or if you wanted to have a company actually created for an umbrella company or to act as the limited company for the candidate record, then you could do that. And what you can do here is you can look up a company as an example, and then on selecting that company it's going to put that there, and obviously this is a link then to that company. You've also got from the payment contact side, you've got an option here to paste in the candidate name if the payee contact is going to be the candidate. But what you can do as well is look up contacts. So if you have listed a company, then when you look up contacts, it's going to be shortlisting the contacts from that company as an option. And if you've not listed a company, then it's just a complete partial lookup of all contacts on the system that you can search across. But those are two really options there. The payment address will be initially linked to just the candidate, but if you associate a company, the company addresses will also come through into this list as well for you to select. And the other options are as they were in version 6 in terms of payment frequency, payment method, tax code. You've got the option to store a Sage account reference number, a VAT, and obviously company registration as well. So that covers the payment details elements to a candidate record, and obviously the full workflow is that you would at the point of creating a placement record, these details are copied over to the placement record for the purposes of back office workflow. So this is stage 1, doing it within the candidate record. Stage 2 is within the company record, and then stage 3 or phase 3 even is the the placement record, and obviously having a back office tab within there and having those details pull through and work with the authorization levels. So this is, this is the first step, and you'll see over the course of the next few sprints just some additional back office functionality going in sprint by sprint until we have that fully set up for you. Anyway, that's the update that we made there. Okay, so the next point to cover relates to the selection screens, specifically the cross-reference fields within the selection screens of company, contact, candidate. Previously, when you were in one of these selection screens where you had one of these type of fields, in order to filter by these fields, you would need to do a lookup. So for example, if we filter by company here, you would do a lookup, look for that company, select it, and then that field name will be populated in here. But we got a lot of requests from clients that were looking for these fields to essentially just be free text. So that's what we've done. So it's now possible to just basically enter the starting prefix of a company, the beginning part of someone's name, and obviously search based on that. And obviously in this instance, based on the criteria of CLL and the contact, company of CLL and the contact of DAV, we found colleague software with the contact name of David Payne there as examples. Another option, obviously this is in place for requirements, interviews, offers, where they've basically got these fields in place. And if I do another one just against the placement selection screen, just to again demonstrate it, we can do a search there, and that's against the candidate of DAV and company of CLL, and obviously we found all placements where we've got colleague software as the company and we've got the candidate as David Payne there. So that's how that will work now moving forwards. Okay, so the next point to cover, and it's a fairly minor point, just relates to the option to delete another user's search result. So obviously within the search result you've got the option to save search results, and then you can open up those search results at a later date. But what you can also do is obviously delete searches that you've saved previously. Now when we introduced this option to delete saved search results, the option was actually wide sweeping, so you did have the option to delete search results from other users as well. So obviously it defaults to your user when you're looking at this list, but you can obviously change the user listing to look at search results that have been saved by other users. So what we've done is we've introduced in the user permissions area an option called delete searches created by another user. So at the moment I have that as set as full access. So if I go back to list of saved searches, I look at look at this guy's list of searches, and you can see I've got the option there to delete searches. I could highlight a search and delete it from there if I wanted to. So if we change this user setting to no access, and then from within here I'll need to refresh this there. By default when you refresh it will show your list of search results. If I switch now to that chap's search results, you can see that delete option is now gone. So obviously you have the option to delete your own searches but not other people's. So that's just a setting there that's been added, and that will be in place moving forwards. Staying with the search, the next point to cover, and it's particularly minor update, but it's worth covering all the same. This is when you're bulk emailing from a search result, or from any email form actually throughout the system, to be fair. What I've done is I'll open up a example search result just so I can get to a place where I can create a bulk email. So I'll open up this search result. If we select these records here and hit email, we've introduced this animation for a start, just when it's creating that email, because sometimes that can take a little while if there are a lot of email addresses or a lot of records associated with the email. But what we've introduced, really the update, is the fact that we've got this scroll bar now. So previously the to field and the CC field could grow and grow based on the number of emails that you would have in there, and obviously you want to limit the size of that for the purposes of just keeping it in as a tidy UI basically. So we've incorporated a scroll bar here, so it will show the first 4 rows, and then the scroll bar will be introduced to cover the rest, and that's the update that we've made there. Okay, so the next point to cover relates to a couple of items that essentially were just very minor fixes to general user workflow, and it's sticking with interview workflow, which we've been working on for the past couple of sprints. Basically, against the interview record, or sorry, but against the interview process when you're creating an interview, the interview time used to be hard coded to this drop down list here, but we were finding clients raising scenarios where they would want to raise an interview for quarter past or say quarter to, something along those lines. But what we've done is basically make this field editable now, so it can be any time essentially that you'd like, and if it's a invalid time, it's obviously going to highlight that it's an invalid time and prevent you from creating that record. So you can edit this as you see fit, based on the interview time that you want. In terms of the diary entry as well, what we were seeing is the end time of a diary entry was fixed based on the default settings. So if the start time was at say 3 o'clock, the end time would be 4 o'clock based on a default user setting saying that you'd want an hour gap between the start time and end time of a diary entry. Those are all user settings. But what obviously you want is for that to be an initial setting that you can then adjust, which you weren't able to. So you can now adjust that accordingly. You can adjust both those, and basically they'll work as expected. So that's just little updates that were made there. Another update was made relating to the offer record, or the creation of an offer record, and specifically the use of the margin calculator. There was some work to be done there just to make sure that all worked correctly based on the different role types that you were using, and also from a calculation perspective, that everything was just working as required on that screen. So that's all been worked on as well, just tying off the work needed against the interview area and the offer area there. As always, if you have any queries or feedback, please get in touch. I'll be keen to hear from you. Also, for those using Colleague 7, feel free to submit your enhancement requests via the support team or directly to me using the above email address. The next video will be the sprint plan for 18.03.01, and as part of that I'll include a quick overview on the points we intend to work on during that sprint. Thanks for watching.